Hello, my name is Alyssa Hagenauer, and this is my lifespan timeline for Kinesiology 372. First, a little bit about myself. I've lived in Bay City, Michigan my entire life. I have one older sister named Jessica. I have 4 people in my family: my sister, my mom, my dad, and me. We have 4 cats: Violet, Ozzy, Theo, and Clementine. Something that I love doing is going on trips with my friends around Michigan. I completed my first 2 years at Delta College. I then started attending Saginaw Valley State University this fall and will be attending here till the year 2022 for my bachelor's degree. After that, I'll be finishing up my last 3 years of my program for physical therapy at Central Michigan University for my PhD. Throughout this presentation, you'll see pictures of me and my friends and family throughout childhood and as I get older through each slide. My infancy and the reflexes and voluntary movements I displayed. A couple of the reflexes I displayed during infancy are the crawling reflex. This reflex consists of an infant alternating their arms and legs. It is present at birth and usually disappears around 3 to 4 months old. This reflex is important in developing muscle tone as an infant. The stepping reflex. This is where an infant lifts their feet off of a surface. This reflex appears during the first 6 weeks following birth and disappears around 5 months. This reflex is also considered one of the most debated reflexes during infancy. Lastly, the swimming reflex. This reflex involves the infant coordinating their arm and leg patterns. This usually is inhibited by 5 months old and is considered one of the most interesting reflexes. Next is the voluntary movements I displayed during infancy. The first one is lifting the head. Infants normally start lifting their head around 1 month. I was around 2 weeks old when I started lifting my head. I displayed this movement so early because as an infant, I refused to sleep in any other position other than on my belly. My mom tried absolutely everything she could to get me to sleep in any other position, but I refused. Even to this day, I still sleep on my belly. This, of course, terrified my mother when I was an infant, so she spent the majority of my infancy up at night watching me, making sure that I was okay as I slept. Sitting up is the next movement. This normally occurs around 6 months, and I was around 5 months old when I started sitting up. Crawling. Infants normally start crawling around 10 months old. I was about 8 months old when I started crawling. Lastly is walking, which normally occurs around 12 months old. I was around 10 months old when I started walking. Both my sister and I developed on track and even had developed ahead of time than what was predicted. Next is my childhood and the foundational and specialized skills that I displayed. Some of the foundational skills I had during childhood are galloping. This is a skill that I learned quickly as a child. Next is kicking. I have always been a strong kicker. Playing games like kickball was my favorite thing to do in gym class when I was younger, and I also played and excelled in soccer throughout my childhood up until I stopped during high school. Lastly is throwing. I've never been great at throwing. Any type of sport-related activities like baseball was definitely my least favorite thing to do as a kid. I still struggle with being a strong thrower, unfortunately. The specialized skill I chose that I learned during childhood is learning how to ski. When I was around 6 or 7 years old, my Uncle John bought my sister and I skiing lessons for Christmas. Ever since then, every winter, my mom's side of the family goes on a ski trip. Usually it's just my cousins, my uncles, my sister, and our significant others that go skiing with us. My aunts used to come with us, but they usually don't anymore. As a child, I learned how to ski very quickly, and I've gotten pretty good at it since then. At first, we started at a ski resort that had smaller hills, which definitely helped me to learn a lot quicker when I was younger. But now that we're older, we started going to places like Treetops and Boyne Mountain, which definitely have hills that are much larger. The progression I went through to learn how to ski started with me using the pole rope as a kid. The pole rope pulls you to the top of the bunny hill, which is the smallest hill at any ski resort. On this hill, it's definitely important to learn how to stop. Stopping is one of the most important things to learn, obviously, but a lot of people think that learning how to stop just consists of you going straight down the bunny hill and figuring out once you reach the bottom. Unfortunately, they usually crash into something because they were never taught. Fortunately for me, I was told to practice stopping and slowing down as I went down the bunny hill. Once you've mastered being able to stop and go, you move on to the ski lift, which takes you up to the medium and big size hills. On those hills, you learn how to control your movement and how to control your speed. After you've learned those, you can start going on the biggest hills, or the black diamonds is what they're called, if you feel comfortable doing so. This type of practice is considered a serial practice. This is because you have built up the stages and steps onto how to become an experienced skier and how to be able to use the biggest hills. Next, we're going to move on to adulthood. Here I have made a list of the milestones I hope to accomplish throughout my life. In my 20s, I will be completing my degree and program for physical therapy. I will then be able to start my career, whether it be with my own practice or maybe even in a hospital setting. And also, hopefully during my 20s, I'll be able to buy my first house. Into my 30s, I will start my family. By then, hopefully, I'll be financially stable enough to travel more. Throughout my childhood, we weren't financially stable enough to travel very much at all, so I really hope to be able to start doing that. I hope to keep in touch with old friends. Also, I hope to start financially taking care of my parents to pay off their bills, to pay off their house, since they always supported me since I've been little. By my 40s, my children are starting to get older and more socially active. I'll continue to financially support my parents throughout any hardships they have. I also hope to buy a cabin on the lake. I've always wanted to have a cabin on the lake, but like I said, we didn't have very much money growing up. So I hope to be able to do that to invite all my family to come up throughout the summer. Into my 50s, my kids will be in high school or college. I'll be attending all of their sporting events or extracurricular activities just like my parents did. I hope to at least have one dog by this time, if not many more, because I'm an absolute animal lover. Somewhere during my 60s, I hope to be able to retire. I'll be able to watch my kids grow up and get married to their significant others. Maybe I'll even be able to help them pay for their weddings as well. I also hope to take some sort of expensive vacation by this time. I've always wanted to go out of the country. I've never been able to. Hopefully that can change. Into my 70s, I'll have grandkids. I'll spend more time with my husband enjoying my life. Maybe even get back into painting. I've always loved painting since I was little. Growing up, I got better and better at it, so it made me enjoy it even more. When I'm 80, I hope to help support my grandkids. I'll definitely be spoiling my children and their children with vacations, holidays, and snacks, just like my grandparents did for us. And I'll definitely still be going to every single one of my grandkids' athletic events and extracurricular activities that they're participating in. My grandparents never ever missed any of my soccer games. They were always there cheering and screaming and blowing air horns, which was completely embarrassing, but I know for a fact I'll be just like them. Lastly, into my 90s, I'll probably become more dependent on others as I get older. My grandchildren will probably be adults by this time, and hopefully I can financially support them as well, whether it's their wedding or any school bills that they need to pay for. As an older adult, the longevity quiz we took predicted that I'd live to be around 94 years old. My great-grandmother lived to be 98, but she always hoped to live to be 100, so hopefully I can hit that milestone for her. I have no history of chronic illness or disease in my family. However, as I age, I still expect to grow weaker and need to be more dependent on others. In conclusion, as an infant, I developed at an above-average rate. During childhood, I learned to ski when I was around 6 or 7 and have been skiing ever since. Finally, into adulthood, I hope to live a long, accomplished life with my friends and family. Thank you for listening.